Big tech is back in form. Nvidia is breaking out to highs, and mega caps are leading the market today. Joining us, Rebecca Walser is a president at Walser Wealth Management. So I guess it took a week to kick in, Rebecca, but we're back in 2024. What do you think?
I mean, Oliver, right now I'm still a little bearish, so I don't like the macroeconomics globally, but I'm glad to see the techs rebound second week of January. It's great. Love it.
What here are you waiting to see fall into place on the macro? What makes you hesitate to get on board with all the Nirvana narrative lately?
Well, I specifically am concerned about Saudi Arabia and the UAE, Iran as well, joining the BRICS bloc. And I really feel like there's something nefarious going on with that bloc as far as the petrodollar. And I obviously don't want any kind of official announcement coming out of OPEC that they're going to start selling crude outside of US dollar, because that would obviously give us massive dollar pressure. And I don't think in this environment, Oliver, with the Fed's balance sheet so high, that would really be something we could cope well with at this stage.
Okay. Hey, we're pumping a lot of oil, though. See, the crude oil can't stay up. I mean, how many geopolitical flare-ups do we need to get before the bear case dies from it? WTI just keeps going down.
I know, but that also is an indication that demand could be going down, that you've got globals showing that the demand isn't going to be there. People aren't spending it. We've got that demand closely tied to consumer ability to keep spending. So that's a little bit concerning, too.
Okay. So if we do get deeper slowdown, we saw the services bomb last week. What's the timeline for that? I mean, how bad does it need to get for the market to panic when they're pricing in, 6, 7 cuts? It seems like we've kind of built our safety net in already.
Yeah, I think what we're going to hear first, Oliver, is again, and I hate to say this, but I think we're going to get banking liquidity problems again, like we got in March of last year, spring of last year. And that's really the bigger concern. The BTFP, the Bank Term Funding Program, is supposed to close, only be 1-year facility closing in March. And I think that's exactly when, maybe a little bit before that, we're going to start getting a lot of liquidity pressure for these banks. So that's a concern that we also are looking out for. And I hope that doesn't happen again, but it looks like it could.
Okay. So let's talk some of the tech stuff here. NVIDIA versus the rest. I mean, do we need to separate to some extent, like valuation refrothing from like real disruptive tech?
Yeah. NVIDIA is in a class by itself. It is one of one. It has such an advanced AI chip that really is just not, they don't have a real true competitor, let's be honest, on the AI chip space. There's others that are trying. There's others that are making deals. Microsoft making deals with other carriers to start making chips that will do what NVIDIA does on the AI side. But they are just so far ahead on the AI chip side. Their runway is so massive. I mean, we're talking about projected growth of compounding growth of in the 60s for compounded years. Oliver, this is just not something that any other tech company that I can see right now is going to be able to compete with. And so they are in a class by themselves.
Okay. What about those that are, I mean, NVIDIA might have to deal with further restraints on selling certain chips to China, but it kind of seems like they've carved out a way in their business model to deal with that. On the other side, though, last week we heard that the government was getting ready to crack down on Apple with a sweeping allocation. Do any of those things matter to these stocks?
So we obviously want to see, a reserve for potential antitrust litigation. We have not had serious antitrust litigation for really over a decade in this country that has had substantial earnings and company fallout impact. But we're starting to see a shift in that. It really started under the Trump administration. Their class action lawsuit got dismissed specifically against Meta, but then it was brought again under Biden's basically FTC, reissued, and it was not dismissed. And so what they're saying and alleging with Meta is specifically that the acquisition of WhatsApp and Instagram has basically made them a social networking monopoly, and they're going with that. Meta has other issues that are concerned. We also have the Alphabet case with Google, and they're talking specifically, Google has a couple of different antitrust issues, one being their Play Store, and are apps available outside the Play Store, is that monopolistic on an Android phone, but also Google paying rivals to carry their search as the search. That is the antitrust lawsuit in the Google Alphabet case. And then when you look at Apple in October of last year, and this is kind of something that people maybe not have really realized, Oliver, but FTC last year found that Apple's smartwatch is infringing on a trademark from Masimo, which is a pulse oximeter. And so Apples are now not allowed to be sold Series 6 and later, and all of the Ultra series are no longer on or being able to be sold in the U.S. under what's happening with this Biden administration. So we're starting to actually see, if you look at Apple's share of the wearables, they call it, instead of other, they call it wearables now, which would be their iPads and their smartphones. That was over 10% of their business in 2023. And so it has definitely come up to be an important factor, not the factor. Obviously, the phone is the same factor. But this is starting to have an impact. And it's really interesting how the federal government is starting to really look at these tech companies and to crack down on potential monopolistic behavior.
Yeah, they're really going after some of these. The watch thing seems like it's totally legit. Some of the other stuff kind of seems like they stretch a little bit, but it is kind of a weird place for Apple to have to really own up to a mistake in the case of the watch. Do you think that limits? Should Apple be lower ranking on our list of Mag 7 big tech right now?
I mean, I think the bigger threat for Apple, obviously, is the downgrades that they received last week, and also that they don't have as big of a runway in China as we thought they would have, because China's obviously really going after them, saying nobody in the government can have an Apple phone. Foxconn obviously moving some of its operations outside of China for the first time. So I think Apple's bigger issue is, where is its growth trajectory? If it's not going to be China, is it going to be India? Could they ever in India afford Apple smartphones? Likely not, with their per capita GDP, Oliver. So I think Apple's issue is way bigger than its watch. But what I really think about the Apple and Alphabets of the world, the Googles of the world, is really their Play stores. That's really the bigger thing. That 30% commission that Apple gets when they get revenue recurring through apps that were downloaded through their Play Store. Obviously, that was the whole Fortnite, litigation that we're still getting to work through the system. So that, I think, is the bigger issue. How much monopoly can they have with their app stores on these phones?
Got it. Yeah, I agree. Rebecca, thanks for the take. Good to catch up. Appreciate the thoughts.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
Yeah, likewise. And we'll see you throughout 2024. Rebecca Walser, Walser Wealth Management.